Amazon Game Studios have released a new Q&A on the official Discord for New World this November. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the questions. This is Glaive. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first question is, are there any plans to make Soul Trials replayable? Now, they say they have none in the short term, but they do like the idea. Personally, I would love for them to do this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Make this a priority in terms of playable content, please, because most of the work here is already done. We've hopped in, we've played them, we've beaten the bosses. Can we do it again? Maybe leverage the tech that you're using to develop the group finder. Come up with a playlist. Boom, you have an instant content playlist for solo players, and it would be great ahead of any console launch. Secondly, they're asked about adjusting ore nodes. How are they at the moment? Do they feel that they're balanced and they're where they need to be? They've said that they're nearing the point where they're happy with it, but they're keeping an eye on it, especially tier 5 nodes. I haven't personally done much farming since the launch of Rise of the Angry Earth, but I do hear from other players and creators that there's a supply issue here, especially around Orichalcum, which always seems to be camped. My take is copy Guild Wars 2. Make every node instanced, but there are arguments for and against this, so who knows. They're next asked if there are any plans for festive music sheets for the Winter Convergence. They've said that there are no plans, sadly. They feel that the Summer Medley Fair is the best fit for these, and I guess that kind of makes sense since the Summer Medley Fair is, for all intents and purposes, a music festival. That being said, a few festive tunes for Christmas wouldn't hurt, would it? Do they foresee the PvP rewards becoming available in PvE or vice versa? I guess this refers more specifically to the artifacts in the PvP track, Serenity, etc. I know that some PvE players have found it a bit controversial that they have to do this content in order to get them. Now, they've said that there are no plans to change this. They feel that PvP has ample rewards at the moment, and they're still improving the reward structure of PvP. This makes sense. Artifacts conceptually, I don't think were ever meant to be Pokemon. You're not supposed to be catching them all. And they've tried to fit PvP related artifacts into the PvP tracks. That being said, we are only human, and if they're there, we're going to want them. So yeah, let's see what happens there. Any update on Bad Luck Prevention, which was originally touted for Season 4? They've said that originally Bad Luck Prevention, the mechanic that awards you a drop after a certain number of failed attempts, was intended for Season 4, but it's been pushed back due to other priorities. Meanwhile, they have increased the drop rate of artifacts in Season 4 from 10% to 20%, so hopefully, short term, we see some benefit there. How's it going? It's Glaive here, and I'm just interrupting to let you know that I now stream on Twitch. I stream Monday, Wednesday and Friday evenings UK time, and it'd be really cool if you'd come and hang out. Still a baby streamer, and I'm no Arrowly or Micro, so don't expect any epic world-defining plays, but we're building up a community. I've already got a few regulars who are awesome. Come hang out, we'll chat about the game, we'll talk about movies, whatever. Hit me up in the link in the description below, or search on Twitch for It's Glaive. Now back to the video. Okay, now I'm getting some message cannot be loaded here when trying to look at the text. I don't know if this is because the user who posted the question is currently timed out on the server. I don't know if it's a bug, and I simply don't know if they've just blocked me. Who knows? It would be helpful in future Q&As if the devs were to copy and paste the full question for this kind of thing, just to try and avoid it. That would be really helpful. Okay, so the next question seems to be around what's to come in 2024. They say there are a lot of exciting features and improvements to come in 2024, but right now they want to focus on Season 4, which to me makes sense. I do just hope that we get a roadmap before Christmas. I strongly believe that this is still the best way to maintain momentum. It's what I predict, and let's be honest, outside of regular players, nobody's going to be talking about Season 4 after it's dropped. I really want this game to attract and maintain new and returning players. In order to do that, you need momentum, you need hype, so please don't rest on your laurels. Please don't think Season 4 is going to be the be-all and end-all that sees us through to the new year. We definitely need to hear something way before then. The next question is around influence races being 2 at a time. Now, they've said they're trialing influence races 2 at a time at the moment to gather data on if they want to make it a permanent change. The idea here is that it spreads the population out over 2 events to ease the load a bit on the servers, and that makes sense. They'll keep us updated on how this pans out, and I guess make changes if and when they feel it's needed. There's another question around territory and influence races here. Territories are grouped together in the schedule, and after a recent update they say there are 4 of these events a day. This is to make it harder for 1 or 2 stronger companies to dominate the whole map. Again, makes sense. They're continuing to monitor how these events are running and whether this grouping is getting them the results that they're looking for, and they may be tweaked in the future if and when needed. And we have one more question around wars and races. In terms of the answer, it's basically the previous answer slightly extended. They do say that the most recent update made it harder for a company to hold 3 or more territories without risking a double war declaration. They're also exploring other options on how to further optimize and open these up going forward. Now, the next question is around what's being done to assist with weapons and weapon skills considered to be underpowered or underutilized. In response, Lydia answers that they've made major updates to Firestaff in Season 1 and Musket in Season 3, as well as making a larger pass at this, focusing on underpowered abilities across the board back in Season 2. There are still further plans to go back and revisit previous weapons and continue to make changes and introduce refreshes where they're needed. A question was asked around artifacts and their unique perks. In response, they say that one of the goals of artifacts is to define a new or interesting playstyle for that weapon. Sometimes this means giving benefits to certain abilities while pushing for power, utility, diversity, and fun. The example given here is Endless Thirst, the theme being more bang for your buck with every potion used at the cost of potion frequency. These continue to be looked at, and of course they will be adjusted where needed over time. The next question continues to explore weapon diversity and inclusivity, and in response they continue to look into ways to increase power for lesser used weapons in all game modes. They highlight that with their newfound ability to increase weapon damage within PvE without affecting PvP, that the musket specifically is being looked at, along with several other weapons down the road to make these more viable. I do think this is a very positive thing. Being able to adjust for PvE without impacting PvP should open up a lot more options for them in terms of weapon scaling, weapon diversity, and, parity. They're asked if they're looking to rework certain abilities to increase diversity, and they say that they're always looking at ability usage and at potential buffs and improvements to underused abilities. They say that they did a big pass in Season 2 and have plans for more passes in the future to refresh older weapons and these underused abilities. So again, I guess, stay tuned. Okay, so the next question is a biggie. Both personally and for a broader PvP player base. So they are asked, with all PvP modes heavily favouring range, and with the new artifact Boltcaster on the way, will range see any balancing? In response, they've said they are continually reviewing the power of ranged weapons in PvP. That's something I can very well believe. It's a frequent topic in chats, both on the Discord, in other streamers' chats. I hear it everywhere. They feel that they see a lot of range usage for a couple of reasons. So the first one is that the layout of the OPR map lends itself to ranged attacks, which yes it does. And 2, the bow is a more solo-friendly way to achieve high scores in PvP. I guess so, yeah. They don't feel that it's overpowered versus other weapons, and I'm assuming they've got the data to back this up. But they do agree that it can feel oppressive when you're a melee player facing a predominantly ranged team. Then Zinramu goes on to add that with all of that said, they are actively reviewing Boltcaster, and they are going to make some changes to it before it goes live. This isn't a maybe, this is a definitive statement. The idea being with Boltcaster to give it a little more focus and theme without creating gameplay that's overly annoying for opponents. Now, being a bow boy at heart, I'm torn by this. Yes, hands down, this artifact needs some fine tuning, but from a personal level, I get really annoyed with stun locks in PvP. I was really looking forward to having even a teeny amount myself that I could give back. That being said, it looks like Boltcaster's tuning is probably going to be some kind of slight nerf, probably to the 0.5 second stun. It's sad times for me, and of course there'll be more information as we get further details. So the next question focuses on the new life staff artifact, Vengeance. Smartin says that the new artifact looks rather underwhelming compared to other artifacts, and is there a reason why they decided against giving a healing focus perk instead of opting for a damage perk? In response, Chardis says that the goal with artifacts is for them to encourage certain playstyles. So for Vengeance, they wanted to make it more than just a weapon that heals, pushing players into a more offensive healer role. They recognise that it won't be the right staff for all players, but they hope that it will find a niche in the current meta, and I'm sure it will. Chardis does go on to say that they do have more fun ideas for life staves in the future, and in future artifacts that will lean more into the traditional healer playstyle. So there we have it. The next question is around the random expedition function, or the roulette button of the upcoming group finder. The player already has a pre-made group of their own that they run dungeons with, and they feel a little bit left out of the potential rewards that will be attained from doing this roulette form of dungeons. In response, they've said that the function of this random group button is to reward people for giving up their time. That said, you can go in with friends, currently up to 4, but this is subject to change. It is worth noting, I feel, that this function is being added to help those players who don't currently have a group to run with. So for other players, it's less about being left out and more about being rewarded for helping the newbies and the solo players on their own journey. So yeah, it's not so much cutting people out as it is trying to include the soloers and the newbies. And if we're honest, these rewards, whatever they end up being, they're not likely to be anything that's game-changing or top tier. But it is nice to know that you can at least hop in with some friends to help these soloers on their quests. Are there any plans to put horse races into leaderboards and make them replayable? Now, they agree that mount races are fun and they feel the same way. They have some ideas about how to make more out of this content, but there's nothing concrete right now. I would say yes, make more of this content, but personally, make it more interesting. As of now, they're very basic. They don't feel like a horse race. If you're going to do that, I would lean into it and actually have player v player races. Maybe build a racetrack. Why not? Jousting. Jousting would be fantastic. And finally, a small question with big implications. Any plans to add character inspection into the game? Now, they say they're leaning towards doing this long term, but there are no immediate plans. Personally, I'd be very wary about this. It can be quite toxic, and a function like this could get very toxic very quickly. Yes, I get it. With high tier content, you want to know that the people you're running with are optimal. That being said, even if this is opt-in, which they say it would be, it can become a very divisive tool. It's very easy to see yourself being kicked if you refuse to share your gear, for example. So I would say just be careful with this one. It might not be the healthiest solution for this problem. And that's it. That's the video. I hope you found it helpful or at least mildly entertaining. If you did, please consider liking, subscribing, or leave a comment down below. All of these will really help me with that YouTube algorithm. If you'd like to come and hang out, I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings UK time on Twitch, twitch.tv/itsglaive. And until next time, take care.